Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Wednesday, and all of our guests, including Jeff Paterson, standing by, is making his way up to Pentiction, brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located at Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships, the largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for the fourth straight year a customer satisfaction index score well above the national average. Make your appointment today at albernipowermarine.com. Happy to have them aboard. Boating talk there.
Absolutely.
From Sakaris and Price and the Rink-wide podcast, Young Stars tournament up in Pentiction. He's making his way up there. Jeff Paterson, as always, on a Wednesday. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Donnie, and Dolly as well. So many Ryans on the show. Ryan Miller, Ryan Henderson. I should have had my son Ryan sit in, and I have no idea what you guys would have talked about with him. But it's funny when I see Ryan Miller, and I think lots of good things, and I always enjoyed my dealings with him, and I'm not sure he was appreciated the way that he should have been for his 3 years here. But I go back to that 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, and not his performance necessarily, but the fact that Team USA had Ryan Miller, Ryan Kessler, Ryan Suter, Ryan Whitney, Ryan Callahan, and Ryan Malone. And if that's not enough, Donnie, they had Bobby Ryan as well.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Canada had Ryan Getzlaff. Well, I'm involved in minor hockey in Port Moody. I think every second kid is named either Ryan or Liam. So
Yes.
we'll investigate that another day. Jeff, we just talked about how you're going up to the Young Stars tournament. It's back. It's been resurrected. Do you see the value of that event?
I do. It's just a great way to launch the hockey season. Penticton in the shoulder season. South Okanagan Event Center is a fantastic junior hockey facility. Of course, the Penticton Vs really are sort of the toast of junior A hockey in this country. Every year they seem to be the team to beat. So it's a great spot. It's a great rink. It brings those four Western Canadian teams together, and it's cyclical. And I know you had the graphic that Dolly demanded right off the top of the show.
Was not me.
It's unfortunate that there aren't a few more stars in the Canucks lineup. They've got a 24-year-old, a 23-year-old, and 6 22-year-olds appearing at this tournament. So I'm not sure young applies either for this group. But look, in some ways, this lays it bare for Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford. And I know that they know this, but there hasn't been a Young Stars tournament. They weren't on the job at this time last year. This is what they have to work with. And when you do the comparison to those other teams that are coming, Calgary and Edmonton are ahead of the Canucks right here and now with the rosters that they've got. Plus, they've got things in their pipeline that the Canucks don't. And that's the troubling part for the Vancouver Canucks as they try to build into contender status.
Arshdeep Bains, Neil Zaman, Linus Karlsson, Jet Wu's going to be there, Klimovich. Which young star intrigues you the most, or which young stars intrigue you the most when it comes to the Canucks in Penticton?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Linus Karlsson out at UBC in the summer, and I'm kind of curious to see how he adapts to life in a North American rink and just makes that adaptation that everybody has to when they come over here from Europe. So, I think that there are some expectations. This guy had an incredible season in the Swedish Hockey League. Danila Klimovich is interesting to me, and could have gone and played in the Quebec Major Junior League and racked up a ton of goals. They elected to keep him in Abbotsford last year. I know there were some issues late in the season, and he wasn't able to crack their lineup, but spent his offseason here in Vancouver training, and I think that says something about his dedication to his craft and wanting to get better. So, I hope that we see some flashes from him, and I can't help but see this in some way as a message to Jet Wu that they're making him take part in this tournament at this stage of his career and development. Another guy that was sort of on the outs looking in when the season ended down in Abbotsford. He was playing forward. They still see him as a defenseman. I hope he embraces this opportunity to be a leader and to get some ice time here that should serve him well next week at training camp and into the NHL preseason. But this just feels like a big year for Jet Wu.
Jeff, the forward group, much faster. It looks like, obviously, the additions all summer were with the forward group. Let's go to the blue line. All this talk about Quinn Hughes possibly going to the right side. How do you see everything shaping up there?
Yeah, I certainly don't think that was by accident that when they had their first little scrimmage out at 8 rinks, there was Quinn Hughes on the right side with OEL. I think they want to get him adjusted and acclimated to that, and that's something that they're going to look at. And you know what? Like when I look at what they've got on that defense depth chart, like of all the guys that I would bet on to be able to make the shift to the right side, it would be Quinn Hughes. So I'm sort of on board with this, and I'm intrigued. And he's such a smart player. And when you look at a Cale Makar and the way that he plays in Denver, yeah, he's a right shot defenseman, but he's all over the ice. And I think there's some similarities to Quinn Hughes. There's nuances in the way that he would have to defend and do some things on his backhand, going back to retrieve pucks and those types of things. But again, this guy is so smart. He's got the hockey IQ that's off the charts. I think he can make that switch. And so I'm sort of curious. And it's not like you're taking away any sort of weapon. This isn't a guy that scores a ton of goals, with a big one-timer. And in fact, by putting him on the right side in the offensive zone as a left shot guy, maybe it opens up an opportunity to use a one-timer that he doesn't when he's over on the left side. But he's never going to be a big goal scorer. I'm not going to hold that against him. He's great for all of the other things that he does. So, I do think that it's something that the Canucks want to look at. In the same breath, though, guys, if the answer to the right side woes is to shift their best defenseman from the left to the right, then I think that, it tells you all you need to know about holes that exist elsewhere on this Canucks roster.
Well,
right
and if he does go to the right side, it'll be good news for Jack Rathbone. He'll have a whole lot easier time making this hockey club out of the chute as opposed to going to Abbotsford. Up front, have you had a chance to see the Mikheyev and Kuzmenko in the last week or two? Because if these two solidify top 6 spots, Jeff, that's going to really help big time. But if they're going up and down, that won't be such a good thing for them.
Been out at 8 Rinks a couple of times, have observed a little bit. Now, I guess maybe I'm old and jaded and have been at this so long that I am loath to put a ton of stock into what I see in a summer skate at 8 Rinks. Not terribly formal, but these are now all NHLers that are getting out there. They're split into 2 groups, and it really is, the Canucks roster was the early group on the ice this week. So I tried to get a peek at Kuzmenko the first time I saw him, and again, it was brief. I'm excited, but at the same time, he's a wild card. There's no doubt about it. He's got skill. You don't become the second leading scorer in the KHL without being able to put the puck in the net and make plays. But again, there's going to be an adjustment. There is for all of those players that come over. So I'm excited for him. And the fact that he picked the Canucks when he had other offers, I think that says something about what he saw in this organization and its potential. And Mikheyev's speed is undeniable.
Yeah.
Did I see it in the summer skate? I'm not sure that I did. But, man, I can't wait to see what he can do. I'm really interested to see. Like, Bruce Boudreau's got options here, and I'm sure somewhere in his office at Rogers Arena, he's got wall charts and potential line combos. We may not see any of them until training camp next week in Whistler, and even at that, it's just 2 days of on-ice sessions, so we may have to really wait until the preseason. But, the idea of Mikheyev stretching the ice and creating space for a guy like Paterson to operate in, I think that there might be something there, and maybe it's Bo Horvat with Kuzmenko, because we know that Bo is not a gifted playmaker puck distributor, but Kuzmenko, he comes as a guy advertised as sort of playing that role as well as being a finisher. Maybe there's a complementary piece for Bo Horvat. Maybe you go Podkolzin and Kuzmenko with Horvat. So there's a ton of opportunities here, tons of questions that still remain, and that's the beauty of the fact that it's September now, it's hockey season, and we're not far away from getting some of these answers.
I was just going to ask you, do you agree with Bo Horvat when he says he has to improve his playmaking? You just answer the question there. Of course, he has to deal with the contract extension. My favorite part of this interview so far, Jeff, is that you called it 8 Rinks, which I've been doing ever since they renamed it Scotia Barnes.
Scotia Barnes.
But and again, I'm surprised I don't. You remember this. Columbian 4 Rinks. That's what I grew up with. And they've expanded since then.
Donnie, I remember playing on, I think it was the green rink that was downhill. Honestly.
That's right.
You wanted
it was bumpy.
You wanted to go one way for 2 of the 3 periods because it truly was downhill. And for a slow skater like me, I needed all the additional speed I could get.
And the big deal was playing on the blue rink where you had the penalty box bar where if your family came, they could actually watch through small windows. Good times, I'm telling you. That downhill rink. Jeff, thanks for this. Safe travels up to Penticton.
I hope it's good times in Penticton. At the very least, it's hockey, and that is a good thing. So thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
You bet. Jeff Paterson, Rink-Wide Podcast, and Sakaris and Price.